Hello everyone. Today we have another interesting topic on how you could use EC2 Mac without even provisioning or buying an expensive Mac and with all the hardware necessary for your development. In this video, we'll do a deep dive of not just provisioning Mac, but also going and connecting to the Mac from your machine. Please like, subscribe, share the channel. When developing applications for Apple systems, iPhone, iPad, Watch, TV, or Vision Pro, you are required to use a macOS machine at some point of your development workflow, either to provide remote developers or temporary contractors a managed and secure desktop machine, or to automate your build, test, sign, and release pipelines, for which we need to have a macOS and to get it created. AWS EC2 instances, they offer secure, dedicated Mac Mini in the cloud and flexible CI/CD automation for building, testing, signing. It's unlike the traditional EC2s or VM like Linux or Windows. Keep in mind that if you are provisioning a dedicated Mac host, you will have to pay for 24 hours minimum. When you launch your macOS instance, you could choose the basic one, Mac One Metal or Metal as well. You can connect via SSH or SSM, and you can perform the necessary SDK installation along with automating the build with Jenkins, GitHub Actions, or any of your favorite tools. You can do all the regular work that you do for any EC2, that is create snapshots, AMIs, and reuse the setups. So this could be very ideal for like developer teams, or DevOps teams as well, who want to have the necessary pipelines. So to create a Mac EC2 instance, we will need to use a dedicated host, and for that, we will need to reserve a dedicated host. Go to EC2, click on dedicated hosts, and allocate dedicated host. Now, before we go and name it, I would like to show the different Mac options. You have Mac 1, Mac 2, and you may be wondering what is the difference between each, for which you can see this page, which is the AWS page on EC2 dedicated host pricing. A Mac 1, its instance size is Mac 1 Metal Intel Core. This is the configuration, 6 cores, 12 CPUs, 32 GB. These are pretty high boxes. And this is where you have M1 Ultra, 2128. And before you choose which one you want to provision, you come to the pricing option. You could come to the EC2 instance type Mac instances. These are the different supported instance types. And this is the pricing, which is for Mac 1. You have 1.08. Mac 2 seems to be the cheapest, which is 0.65 cents. Let's check out the compute price savings plan if we can benefit from that when provisioning. Come to EC2, click on savings plan, and click purchase savings plans. This is where flexible for 1 or a 3-year term. We are not going to use the compute savings plans, and we will just provision the Mac on demand. So come back to dedicated host EC2, click allocate dedicated host, and choose Mac 2 as the name. Just choose Mac 2 because that is what we saw is the cheapest. And in instance type, we only have one, which is 8-3 CPU. So it's going to be 65 cents for 24 hours, around $16. After 24 hours, we can terminate this particular instance. You could give an AZ. I will just give it AZ1. And you could leave the others as default. Label and quantity is 1, and click allocate. So it says instance family Mac 2 does not support host maintenance. What this is saying is it allocates a new dedicated host when degradation is detected. So just uncheck this, something we are not going to be needing, and hit allocate. Now we have received a Mac 2 for 24 hours. Now we need to have the host ID because this is what we are going to be needing to start the EC2 instance on that host. Now, once the host is allocated to your account, we can start or stop the operating system on it. At this point, all the things you know and love from EC2 are also available on the macOS, which are the EBS snapshots of my volume. You could create an Amazon machine image. I take this option, launch instances onto host, compared to going the other option of instance. I click this one. Important part to work. So I chose macOS. I have the OS already selected. Ensure you have the right architecture. And once you have the right architecture, you should get the option auto-populated. And I will just choose one of the keys I have. And let me just change it to be a public subnet. Ensure the subnet that you are creating is in the same availability zone as the dedicated host. Ensure you have a public IP. I already had created a security group, so let me just use it. Check the advanced network configuration. I'll give magnetic. I don't need standard. Just want to reduce cost. And any advanced details, I think we should be good at this point. Let's launch instance and see if it starts properly and no issues. Let's see the status of the instance. It's initializing. It will take some time. And earlier I was getting errors, and which is where I had to terminate again. So hopefully I don't get those errors. The status checks have passed, but the instance status check is still initializing. So let's give it a few more minutes. Now we have come back to the same status, an error I was getting earlier, which is 2 out of 3 checks passed. And this one is the most important, where instance reachability check has failed. And this seems to be the dedicated host doesn't have the latest drivers, or some OS patch is missing, due to which these instances are not able to come up. This seems to be a general issue. And one of the recommendation is to relaunch a new dedicated host with a new VM and just hope it works. So these are some quirks as of now with macOS using the setup, which is instead of me again trying to create a new dedicated host, what I'll just do is I'll just go via the console, because I've done this quite a few times now and it has not worked. I could just terminate this instance. You come to the dedicated host and you could check the status and you could see the state is pending because now the VM is terminated. This is what I was saying, that it takes around an hour, because once you terminate the instance, the dedicated host is going to scrub any remaining stuff of the VM from the hard disk of the bare metal setup. That is one of the reasons as well. So don't stop it. If you have it running until things become more stable. Okay, so I guess third time is the charm. And now, after trying for the third time, we see our instance is in a running state and 3 of 3 checks have passed. So let's try to establish connection. This has been WinSCP, a very popular tool, especially for Linux operating system. Mac also can be considered as a flavor of Linux, and you could use WinSCP to connect to macOS as well. So what I have the public IP address of the VM added, something you can get from the EC2 console. The username will be EC2-user. Click on Advanced. It will open a new window. And in SSH, click Authentication and provide the PPK key. When you create a key pair, AWS key pair, you will get a PEM file. So what you could do, you could just put the PEM file here and WinSCP will generate the PPK for you. You could hit OK and save and log in. This will connect you to the macOS VM. Now you are in the macOS and you can do all sorts of things with the macOS. Another option to connect to the macOS is using SSH on a command line instead of a WinSCP for something that you will need to install. And many people may not be open to installing a third-party software and they're more comfortable using command line, for which you can come into the location where your key is there and provide following command. These all commands will be there in the blog as well. So if it is not visible, you can check out the blog. But I get the error 777 and apparently I may have given full permission. So if you want, you can check out the permission, which is, as you see, I have this. Now, if I try changing it to 600 here, I may not, because this is on a local. So I will have to move this key to a Linux location. Let me provide that option. This is the command I'll be using, where I'm saying copy the PEM file that I have to the Linux VM. And now I'm saying in this Linux location, give the permission of 600. And now instead of my current location, I'll provide the location of that key to connect. So I'm now able to log into the VM using SSH. I could run commands. I could type ls-l. I could run and see all the locations of the Mac directly. Next, we will use Amazon SSM to connect. It is a better way of connecting for more enhanced security. You come in to your console, you go to the instances, ensure you have selected the right instance, and click Connect. And now you will see the SS Session Manager, and you should see the Connect option, and click on the Connect button. You will see the Session Manager open. So now you're in the terminal. You can run the commands. To know the version of the OS, you can also type the command and you will see the version. So we have seen 3 ways on how you can SSH to the VM and try to connect to it. So with this, I hope you are able to see how to not only provision but also connect. There were a few quirks in getting the hardware allocated, and cleanup, it takes a long time. But other than that, if you are running, keep it running. Don't stop it often, so to avoid these issues.